Hey guys, happy Friday. It's Dr. Lauren. Today I wanted to just dive into signs of subluxation. So last week I talked about the 4 T's as causes of subluxation. And this week I want to dive into a little bit more of signs of subluxation, especially in kids. The reason being is that this is more looking at like detrimental function, and these all can be we can see these in adults as well, but a lot of adults, they throughout our lives, we're kind of like, that's okay. Like, if I can't do that as good, that's just me, or that runs in my family. And it's not until we're in like mass amount of pain, can't do all these things that we love, that we seek help to help our, like, how we feel and how we function. And in kids, they haven't had decades of compensation. So usually we are seeing more like a disconnect in how they function, more so than like kids experiencing pain. And this is especially true in like infants and newborn. So I wanted to kind of highlight some of these signs of dysfunction and dis-ease in the body that we may notice in newborns and older kids that would be a sign that the body is subluxated, that the brain isn't communicating with the body isn't communicating back to the brain properly, and that an assessment with a chiropractor could be a really good idea to optimize, how we're expressing ourselves and living life. So if we're talking about newborns, the biggest thing that I see newborns in the office is for support with breastfeeding. So the reason being is to properly breastfeed, a couple things have to happen. One is we have to be able to coordinate sucking, swallowing, and breathing all at the same time. And this is directed by our cranial nerves, which a lot come from the brainstem, have origins in the brainstem. So we need those cranial nerves to be functioning well in order to coordinate those important functions of breathing, sucking, and swallowing all together. So if we have a birth that is more stressful, especially like a cesarean birth, a birth that required forceps or vacuum suction, a birth that required Pitocin or an induction to get things going, those things are extra insults on a newborn head and neck and spine that may cause misalignment, subluxation. Those are all physical traumas that could cause misalignment that would impact the function of those cranial nerves. The other thing that can be impacted when we have that misalignment occur is that we may not get this extension. This extension might not happen well. So for good breastfeeding, we want to be able to extend and open. So when we have physical trauma that creates a subluxation, those two motions may not be happening properly. And when breastfeeding isn't going well, we have a host of other signs and symptoms that come with that. Things like reflux, things like colic, not being able to be settled, hating tummy time, missing milestones. So all of those are signs and symptoms that I see in newborns that come in to receive care. And so by taking care of that subluxation complex, by supporting connective tissues, we see a lot of cool changes. Babies able to turn their head and neck to both sides. Oh, I guess that's another thing. Plagiocephaly, where you see the flattening of the back of the head, either the whole back or one side. That's an issue with baby not being able to move their head and neck properly. So by removing that subluxation, we can restore proper function, and then we see resolution in these signs and symptoms. With older kids, a lot of times, more so now though, we're seeing headaches and neck pain in kids, like kids always like turning and like their neck cracking. I'm seeing that more. Allergies, asthma, difficulty going to the bathroom, like chronic constipation. That also in newborns is a common thing that patients report. Like clumsiness, if they're like constantly running into things or tripping things, if they're always getting sick, so they seem to have a depressed immune system and they're always getting sick, this can be a sign of subluxation. So like I said, sometimes it can be pain in kids, but a lot of times it's disrupted function. And this can all result from either the birthing process or being in utero in a weird way, like a breech presentation or transverse presentation. Or it could be like a fall from a bike or a fall from a bed or changing table. These initial traumas can create subluxation, and unfortunately, the body can't get rid of it on its own. So, as we go through life, there can be layers added on top of that. And then as an adult, we finally get to the point where our body is screaming at us. So if we can see these changes and functions early on in our newborns and our kids, it's so much easier to address those subluxations, to support them for long-term stability, to enhance the function, and to create an optimally developing nervous system and body just for a much easier life. Like, I'm sure looking back, when Dr. Jake and I have talked about some things, there's some things that resonate, like, oh my gosh, I've been dealing with that since high school. I've been dealing with that since grade school. And it's like, what if, and I had this question too, what if I didn't have to deal with that my whole life? How would that have changed my life to now? And I think that's an amazing gift that we could give our kids if we can honestly assess them and see how are they functioning. And if it's not as optimally as you think it could be, please let Dr. Jake and I know, and we'd love to get them checked and let you know what we're seeing. And maybe they're not subluxated. Maybe there's some other thing going on, but it's a great place to start, because supporting that nervous system is the foundation of health, and we are here for it. So just let us know how we can help.